Welcome back to the show. The Obama administration is new. In relative terms, so is the government of Pakistan. Moreover, the domestic militant threat has been occupying the country's armed forces.
Our correspondent Umar Daraz asks whether changing regional realities means a reorientation of our foreign policy.
The perception of existentialist threat from India has literally been shaping Pakistan's foreign policy for decades, and some analysts believe it continues to do so despite the change in regional realities. Many believe that national interest, ideology, security and decision-making, the most important aspects of a state's foreign policy, have always been determined with Pakistan and India relations in mind. Analysts believe that despite the recent change in Indo-US relations and an overall shift in the dynamics of the war on terror in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the realities have not changed much for the latter.
I think the realities haven't changed. Your disputes are still standing. If anything else, they have become much more intractable.
Recently, authorities in Pakistan repeatedly said that India is no longer Pakistan's top enemy. Yet, they have also been pointing fingers at India for creating trouble in the militancy-hit tribal areas of Pakistan. Many believe this is where the military establishment comes into play. Experts say military in Pakistan has always enjoyed a dominant position over the country's political administration in the process of foreign policy making. But how did it acquire this position?
I think it was the institutional development and the strength of the organization which allowed it to dominate perhaps other institutions within the country.
To counter external security concerns, Pakistan pursued a policy of using different militant groups as a tool for its foreign policy. But the top leadership in Pakistan says it can no longer pursue the self-destructive policies of the past. They say these militant groups now present a grave threat to Pakistan's internal security, an important factor in strengthening a country's domestic base. Experts believe that in order to make necessary adjustments in Pakistan's foreign policy in the current situation, various institutions will have to come up with a coordinated effort.
If we are going to have a foreign policy for Pakistan which is going to safeguard the interest of Pakistan, then we must cater into effect the interests of all various institutions and collective consensus within the country on these major foreign policy directions.
Analysts also believe that among all other institutions, Pakistan's Foreign Office has to play a more assertive role in the foreign policy making process, particularly in a situation when the army has yet again acquired a central position in the war against terror. Pakistan's civil administration will have to improve on good governance and accountability on the domestic front if it ever wants to acquire a leading role among all other stakeholders in the process of foreign policy making. Umar Daraz, Dawn News.
The present administration is clearly still trying to find its feet. It also has a lot on its plate.
We ask politicians whether it is trying to change foreign relations or is it more of the same.
All geopolitical strategic issues related to Pakistan, particularly the threat perception, the nuclear, Kashmir, army has a role to play in it.
When military rule a country, then the agenda of the military is just national security state. Instead of Pakistan become a welfare state, it's become national security state.
Unfortunately, in most countries, there are mechanisms which bring together the military, the political leadership, and the expertise in the Foreign Office in what some kind of a National Security Council. In our case, since the military was in charge, the need was not felt.
During this time, there has been definitely a noticeable effort made on the part of government of Pakistan to improve relations with India. Unfortunately, Mumbai was a setback, but you know, we've kind of inched our way out of that sort of narrow alley that we were in last November.
I hope that the elected people and the parliament can show some strength and stand on the resolutions which they have made, which have been dumped for the last 8-9 months. There were some resolutions which were passed and no action was taken.
It's time now for a short break, on the other side of which Eye of the Storm will talk to a man who is a former ambassador and has worked with 2 military dictators.